Hello and welcome to another live coaching. How are you guys doing? Did you sail this week? Was it windy? Where are you? What's going on? Say hi in the comments. We've got a few people already there in the comments. Tomas, hello, hello, hello. You were hoping for some Pozo clips in the waiting time. Well, I hope you found some Pozo clips. There are plenty that you could have watched. I want to know what your favorite is. There was a lot of footage that's come out of Gran Canaria. The drone footage is amazing. Highlight clips. I've seen some good clips from Mark, from Victor. Balls in Pozo is insane after the event. I love Balls Miller. He is just such a radical windsurfer, humble, nice guy. Caro, hello, hello. If you're still around, thanks for dropping by and saying hi. Happy to hear that the tech course is good and going well. Someone else on Facebook can't join us. Sorry to hear that. Jorg, just going to Stockholm and then Pozo. That must be Ragnar. Hey, Ragnar. Mert, howdy. Howdy, howdy. Christoph, light wind and small waves. Are you getting out in it? That can be fun too if you have a big board. All right, guys. I'm going to load up the Facebook group. You guys know the drill by now. You can interrupt me, all the above. Quick plug for the TAP course, which a few of you guys are in. Where is it? Present. Share screen. There we go. Yeah, Tomas, I know what you meant. And I meant that it was sort of a do-it-yourself situation. Hey, John. How's it going? 3-7 weather. Sounds gnarly. Hey, Rob. Nice. Yeah, 4-7 weather in the UK with Matt. Yeah, I heard that the wind is back in the UK after a long, long dry spell. So I am very happy for you guys. What were you working on? What was it like to windsurf after so long? Because it's been a while, right? So Matt, Rob, what were your sessions like? Was it, sometimes I find, like I'll just say for myself when I have these big breaks, sometimes it feels like I have to learn how to do it again the first few days. And sometimes I feel like because I've been thinking about it, I've forgotten my bad habits, I'm actually better than where I left off. So which of those experiences was it for you or something completely different? All right. While we wait, I want to hear those answers from Rob and Matt and whoever else has been getting on the water after a long break. Quick talk about Windsurfing Masterclass. So I'm going to be releasing more and more courses on this website. It's just mywindsurfingmasterclass.com or my.windsurfingmasterclass.com. You can also just go to windsurfingmasterclass.com and find it as well. I can show you what that looks like. So if you go to windsurfingmasterclass.com, I'm going to be working on this website and everything, but this is the learning portal, which is just my.windsurfingmasterclass.com. And right now we just have one course, but I'm in the process of making more. And if you want to improve your tacks, if you want a shortboard tack, this is the course for you. 10 minutes a day, 4 weeks, and you will see an improvement in your tacks. You can do more. You can do 20 minutes a day. You can do it for 8 weeks. You'll see a massive improvement in your tacks. Or 4 weeks and then have a 4-week break, and then 4 weeks again, you'll see probably an even greater improvement in your tacks. Or 12 weeks. But 4 weeks, 10 minutes a day, that's all you need. If there's no wind, there are dry land exercises. Yep, there's more info on this page. A lot of you guys have already taken it. And I'm pretty happy with it because I have seen so many people improve their tacks. And so that's my goal. And I'm super happy that it's working. All right. So Max, welcome. Max is saying that he had a float about session. Nice. Oh, you just signed up for the tack course. Yeah. Awesome. And the best thing is when you're working on something like the fast tack, and this is true for other moves too, it doesn't have to be the fast tack. It gives you a sense of purpose, and so you can have more fun even when the conditions are shitty, when you wouldn't otherwise go out. Still working on the forward. Awesome. Rob said that he's finally been able to try some back loops. Nice. Hasn't landed one yet. Matt, same feeling on the water, recovery taking longer. Yeah, I know that feeling, especially after you've had a break. Because then these like little muscles that you can't train, even if you're fit, there's some windsurfing specific muscles that are just so hard to train that beat you up if you haven't been on the water. All right, let's get into the posts. You guys can interrupt me. You know the drill. Oh, Rich, that's you on Facebook. Hello, hello. All right, Mario. Hello, Mario. Good to see you here. Spray patch for windsurfing. Looking for protection on hands and toes to prevent abrasion from board grip and boom. Okay, I don't have experience specifically with spray patch, but I do have experience with something else. I'm going to mention it after going through the comments. So putting cream on your hands before your session, and you can do this days before and also after, is really helpful. And you want pretty good hand cream. So there's like udder hand cream, like it's advertised that it's what's used for cow udders, like milking a cow. Or I think bag balm is another name for it. Or there's like a farmer's hand cream. All of those sort of hardcore hand creams, they make the skin more elastic, and so then it doesn't break. And so if you're putting on cream like that consistently, your hands are going to be stronger. The skin is going to be more elastic, and you'll have less issues. If you do pull-ups or hanging from a boom, I've seen other people do this with good results, where they take just an arm from a broken boom, hang it up somewhere, and hang on it for a minute or two a day. Do some pull-ups. It can be good exercise. That's good training. Then also it helps keep your calluses a little bit, or at least keeps the skin kind of worked a bit. Jeff uses these golf gloves and also booties sometimes. Mario saying that he likes silicone cream. And so he's talking about super glue. So this is actually what I was going to say when I said I had my own solution. Super glue. So I've never used super glue on my hands, but on my feet I have, and to great results. Like sometimes you can get a blister on the top of your feet from the foot straps. I haven't had that for years. I think Decaians improved their foot straps. But I used to get those sometimes, and I still see people getting them. I don't know what brand of foot strap they're using that's causing it, or what they're doing that's causing it, but you can get a blister on the top of your foot. I found super glue amazingly effective for dealing with those kinds of blisters. Also for small cuts on the feet, I found super glue to be really effective. So on the hands, I found super glue to be less effective because there's so much going on. I find the super glue kind of comes off. But if I had a bad blister, I mean, I mainly just sail through the blisters. Like I had a blister in Pozo, and I just ignore it, and it turns into a callus in a few days. I know that's not a very good answer. That's kind of a lame answer, but yeah, on my hands, I kind of just power through it, and then I try and keep some calluses just all the time. And then if I don't have them and I get a blister, I just power through. But I do use super glue a lot. Super glue is something I traveled with specifically for putting it on my skin. And for if you're like freaking out about putting super glue on your skin. So yeah, so Mert is saying it's cyanoacrylate, which is what it is. And Mert, what do you think is a good alternative if you're against it? I know people kind of don't like the idea of putting on their skin, but that's actually what it was invented for, as far as I might be wrong on that, but that's at least the urban legend behind it, that super glue was invented as a military wound closure thing. Uh, I don't. Is that true? You guys might might know more than me. That's at least the urban legend behind super glue, and I've had no ill effects using it on my skin. I use it, like I said, on my feet a lot. Um, so Mert is saying it's not healthy. Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. I don't know. I haven't grown like a sixth toe or anything. Max, I use the Primo foot straps. I know a lot of um, I know a lot of people that swear by the witchcraft foot straps. I've never tried them, never used them. I think Tomaj. I can't remember. Were you using the witchcraft ones on Maui, or did you switch to Decines? I think you had the witchcraft ones. Um, but I used the Decine Primos. I swear by them. They do everything I want them to do. They're not stretchy. I don't like stretchy foot straps. I want a foot strap that has the webbing going all the way. And so if you take apart a foot strap, you'll see that some of them have kind of a stretchy part or a rubber part on the connection rather than just uh, two pieces of webbing all the way through. I don't have a foot strap in this room. Otherwise, I'd take one apart and show it to you. But stretchy foot straps, I think, are really dangerous because in the waves, you can end up getting the foot jammed inside. And because it's stretchy, kind of elastic, the foot can get jammed a little bit too far. And then the foot strap is elastic, holding that foot in, and it can be hard to come out. And I know a lot of people who have been using stretchy foot straps, and they're not super stretchy. Like your foot straps might be what I call stretchy, and you don't even realize it. But the Decine Primos, not to be confused with the Supremo, which the Supremo is stretchy, but the Decine Primo has just a continuous webbing. Obviously, it's not totally continuous because it's adjustable, but each side is just a piece of webbing that's reinforced with plastic, and then they Velcro on top of each other. So there's very little stretch, there's very little give in it. Whereas other foot straps, they have a section that's made of rubber or something else that then will be a little bit elastic. And I think that that is not good. I think it can be dangerous if you're sailing in the waves. Hey, Axel. Nice. You're looking forward to a session in Handsome on Tuesday and Wednesday. Maybe I'll see you up there. I wasn't planning to drive up, but I'm going to keep an eye on that forecast. Mert is saying that cows have thick skin, so use the cow cream, the udder cream, but not the super glue, and to do some pull-ups. Yeah, I agree with the doing pull-ups. I mean, I'm able to keep my calluses even if I don't windsurf for a few months. Now, granted, I've spent a lot of my life windsurfing, so my callus buildup is pretty big. And then when I'm not windsurfing, I am in the gym quite a bit, and I think that being in the gym, doing some weights, doing some pull-ups really helps keep those calluses so that you don't have issues with the hands on the water. I think pull-ups are a great exercise as well for windsurfers. I've talked about the hanging towel pull-ups before that really work the forearms, which is so important for windsurfing. So like there's a video on my YouTube. You can find it, just search Graham hang towel pull-ups or something. And you just throw a towel over a bar and grab hold onto it vertically. And it really helps with that forearm strength, which is really important in windsurfing. And it's something that you might not train otherwise. All right, let's get back to the group. How many pull-ups can you do, Mert? I don't know how many I can do. I should film it. I don't know how many. All right, Ragnar, how to sail in extreme gusty conditions. So he was sailing in offshore winds, flat and extremely gusty, and he wrecked a monofilm 5.9 that switched to a 4.5. Wow, it was still powered. 4.5 overpowered, but then the lulls 8.0. All right, so these conditions are super tricky where the wind is really offshore like this. It's difficult. The first thing I would say before we even start talking about gear and settings is that the farther offshore you go, the more stable the wind will be because the wind is being blocked by the buildings and the cliffs and everything on the beach, right? So the more you can go offshore, the more stable that wind is going to be. I mean, look, there's like a castle here. I mean, the wind is getting blocked by this thing for sure. There's a wind shadow from this. So the farther out you can go, I don't know what else is around here, if it's safe or not. But if you can get out of this wind shadow into cleaner whitecaps, you're gonna have a more fun time. So just from looking at this, and I know nothing about this spot, okay? I've never been here. This is the only video I've ever seen. But just from looking at this video, I think that you don't want to be sailing up top here. I mean, the view is awesome. It looks cool. I love this footage. I mean, I know right now you're explaining a difficult session, but awesome footage with the people in the foreground. You've got the boats and the mountains, and then we've got this castle in the background. Beautiful windsurfing footage. I think this is awesome. It looks cool. And so even if you're struggling, I think it's a fun experience just with this scenery and everything. But if we're talking about performance, you don't want to be in the wind shadow of this castle, right? Instead, you want to be over here where the wind looks more stable, see more white caps. It looks like you want to be out here, sort of out past the boats, a little bit offshore and downwind from that castle. Now, I don't know if there's a reason that you can't be there for some reason, but that just looks like more stable wind. Like where you're sailing is really difficult. You're on the edge of the wind line. Like where this girl is almost no wind, right? We can see very few whitecaps, and then it's blowing super strong out top. I mean, like there's a little bit of wind you can see on their hair, but I mean, it's not a lot on the inside here, like kind of gusting through. So where you are is more important than your technique. Just it's like riding waves, right? Fundamentals. Where you are is more important than your technique. Now, when we're talking about technique, I think in these kind of gusty winds, you want to have the right equipment. Having a smaller sail and a bigger board is easier when it's really gusty. I like to put more downhaul and a little bit less outhaul than I normally would, and that allows the leech to help spill off the excess power, but you then still have a bit of belly in the sail to help. Hey, Steen. So that's what I like in terms of, or what I would recommend in terms of the equipment, and then in terms of the placement. And we'll get into technique in a second. I wonder for you guys what your tricks are in gusty wind. So it doesn't have to be gusty like this. Like this Ragnar is extreme gusty, but what else? If we're sailing in the waves, there are a lot of spots that are offshore. What do you guys do to accommodate for those conditions? Mert's saying his record is 25. That's a lot of pull-ups. Jeff, hey Jeff, how's it going? He says iron kettlebell movements are great for the hands. Also, any barbell lifting movements. Yeah, I agree with that too. I think pull-ups are great, but the barbell stuff as well. Like I do some like cleans and yeah, and some deadlifts and stuff like that where there's a lot of like pulling on the bar. Definitely helps with the calluses, keeping the calluses. Hello, Steen. So I want to hear you guys. What do you guys do in gusty wind? What are your tricks, tips and tricks when it's gusty? So Tamaz is saying long harness lines and butt low position. Juso has written us a little essay about mast foot pressure, which I find really interesting. He's saying that the board nose is bouncing up and down, and that so you need more mast foot pressure. Mast foot pressure for windsurfing is your stabilizing muscle, and otherwise it makes it like spaghetti. And in gusty conditions, you want to keep your body sort of in the same place, and then your legs are moving up and down to adjust for the board, and then same with your arms in the sail. I think that's really true with choppy water, with a lot of conditions where you're really active with your legs, and sort of the board is, it's like you've got really good shocks on a car or something, but then your body's really staying in the same place. I think moving forward on the board is useful. Like being so far back. So Ragnar, I think you mentioned that you're in the back foot strap, but not in the front one. Your foot is even farther forward. I think that makes it really difficult because then with your weight so far back, you're sinking the tail of the board, makes it harder to get planing. So you need more power in the sail to get planing. Like what I would probably default to in these conditions is the opposite. I'd have my front foot in the front strap and my back foot out of the back strap. And that is a position that's easier to get planing. It's easier to pump as well if you want to pump into a plane, because a lot of the problems happen when you're in this like almost planing position where there's a lot of power in the sail. It feels like you're pushing water against the board. And so the sooner you can get out of that into the nice gliding planing, the better. And being able to do a pump or two is great. But also just being in a position on the board where you're not sinking the tail is also going to make that a lot easier. Having longer harness lines, which someone's already mentioned, allows the sail to be more upright rather than pulled in with your body, which also can be helpful for, again, the early planing. Because what you don't want is like, if you're, let me start that sentence again. If you're planing, like fully planing, and a gust hits, you can just absorb it. If you're in like almost planing with like power on the sail pushing water and a gust hits, you're probably going to get pitched because that power doesn't have anywhere to go. And so it just hits that board, which isn't really moving, and then it pulls you over, right? So the sooner you can get planing, the better. And then that's if a gust hits, and if a lull hits, again, if you're planing, you can plane through the lull. And like that's a technique that I think is really important to work on. It comes up a lot in wave setting where you're planing and then you're coming through a lull. And what I try to do when I'm coming to a lull is I just try to change as little as possible. I just try to ride my apparent wind. I'm just keeping my body stable, keeping everything firm down through my core and my legs, pushing on the board so my legs are really strong, putting a lot of power into the board so I'm rigid. And because your body is a piece of the equipment, right? And so I want to be in that situation, a really rigid piece of equipment like my carbon mast and boom to help make everything as energy efficient as possible. I don't want to be losing energy in my body somewhere, and not move the sail too much, just stay really still and help glide through the lull until you get to the wind again. So getting planing earlier helps with both the gusts and the lulls when it's gusty. And so the sooner you can get planing, get really gliding nice, the better. And so your stance can help with that. Your board and sail choice can help with that. Also where you are, like we already talked about, can help with that as well. Jeff is saying big board, but low. Max is saying go with the gust, don't fight it. Everyone snatches and pulls in during a gust. Yeah, that's an interesting point too. Yeah. So with the gust, you want to sort of let it pass through you. It's kind of like, which is easier if you're planing. If you're not planing, it can be pretty hard because then it's just really, it is just pulling you and there's nowhere else for that energy to go. Which again is why you want to get planing as soon as possible. All right, hopefully what I've said is helpful. I think the main thing for technique would be getting out of that strap. You could try a little bit longer harness lines as well, looking at the video. But yeah, I think with all the things we've said, you'll notice an easier time. All right, next up, Eric posted this angle. I guess this is from a video or from Alessio's Instagram. Yeah, it's a cool angle. Yeah, so a few things we can see here. His head is looking where he wants to go. He's got his, the really clue first poso position. He's got his knees and hips turning into the turn, which is like countering his shoulders, which have to be twisted around to support the sail. One thing I wish Alessio did, and if I was coaching him, I would tell him this, is he needs to bend his knees more. If he had more bend in his knees in his bottom turn, it would take his wave riding, which is really high level here, and blow it through the roof. I mean, his jumping is amazing. His wave riding is really good. But he misses just a few things. Like you saw him in the competition, sometimes he would fall, or he wouldn't be able to make the session. And really, the main fix for that is just bending his knees more on the bottom turn. And there's a few reasons for that. One is it helps you absorb gusts and chop, but two is it helps push and get the board on the rail for a more powerful turn because like this, he's leaning with his body, and so the body weight is doing the work more than like power from his legs and core. But the only reason that his body can be out like this is because the sail is supporting him. And so it's relying on the wind in the sail. And if you don't have that wind, which often you do in pozo, but if you don't have that wind, then it doesn't work. So all it really takes is just having those bent legs. But then when you're coming in from a position of power, you have something to push against, right? Like if your legs are straight and you try and jump, you can't jump very high. If your legs are bent and you go to jump, you can jump a lot higher. So you can push a lot more through the board. So that's the biggest thing that Alessio needs to change, and it would put his sailing where he's, a contender for the top 10 to a contender for the podium in Pozo, because he has everything else really, really beautifully dialed. I love his jumps. He's really good at the wave tricks. It's just this little thing with the bottom turn will really dial up his sailing. All right, more Pozo footage. Here we go. Here is add play. Skip ad. So here's Moritz. He's popped for the first minute and a half, which is nice. I like Moritz. I like listening to him talk. But this is one of my favorite sailors in Pozo. I think his wave riding is phenomenal. Like, look at that. Clue first wave 360. This is awesome. You don't see this often. Bring clue first, bang, 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 lands it in the wave. Yeah, solid. Another thing that he does really well, which I'm hoping that we'll see here on some of his next waves, is he's really able to flow through on the frontside riding. And that's something that's not very easy in pose. Okay, so here he's going frontside, he's going into a bottom turn, goes into the 360, and you can see he goes right into that next turn. So this is something that's so hard in pozo, and I just have so much respect for it because this kind of down the line flow, fitting into the wave, yeah, it's just really hard. Awesome wave 360, and then bam, 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 right into a off the lip. Oh, and even a little backside. Here's a clue first. I think this is a clue first Voider, which I've only ever seen Victor Fernandez do one of these, and that was a long time ago. So awesome innovation. Going for a Hawk, I think, on this one. He's really long. Oh, 360, never mind. 360 into Taka. That's a clay invented by Alex Mussolini into a Taka. Awesome wave. In these really windy pozo conditions, you're not really doing much of a traditional bottom turn. It's kind of like you just go sail clue first, and then the board is pretty flat. Um, awesome 360. And again, this flow down the line is really hard to do in pozo. Here's another. There's a better bottom turn. See a bit of spray, a bit of carve. It's nice to see. Otherwise, what's really common in pozos is this really long bottom turn, which is suited for the place because you have so much wind. The waves are kind of weird. Nice. I really like these air takas, sort of boned out air takas. Another clue first 360. Yeah, I think that's it. Awesome. Thank you, Moritz, for posting. Um, yeah, Eric is asking about the moves that Balls has been pulling off. I think it's phenomenal. I absolutely love it. Balls is amazing. I mean, the tabletop back loop is so cool because I've never even seen someone try that. I've heard of it, people doing it like in the old days, like Matt Pritchard was trying them. And there might actually be a video now that I'm talking. I think there's maybe a video of someone doing one in an indoor or something weird. But in the ocean, I don't think I've ever seen anyone try one. And it's amazing to see it just so beautiful. Perfect tabletop down into a back loop. Boom, 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 boom. I love it. Innovation in windsurfing is something that makes me really excited. Mark Angulo was one of my heroes. He invented the wave 360 and the goiter, and you could do these like really radical jumps. And when I was younger, that was something that really drove me into windsurfing, and I wanted to invent my own moves and make my own style. And so then I started doing like the 1 foot tweak push loops and the no-handed push loops, and trying to find these jumps that no one else had done before, and doing the aerial grubbies off the lip and all of these things. I was where the whole reason I was doing that was to try to emulate guys like Mark and Gulo, where then I was the first person to do something, and we're working on like the back loops off the lip, which I wasn't the first person to do that, but not many people did do it. So that stuff has always excited me. Or doing the carving takas was something, the one-handed takas, which I was the first person to do. Those yeah, though it was all driven by innovation, which is exactly what balls is just pushing through the roof. I mean, it's insane. These like I love watching it. The crazy shifty jumps, and yeah, the clips from Balls Miller are really awesome. It's the only negative thing I think, which it's not a huge negative. I'm just sad that he spends so much time winging, because otherwise, who knows what else the level of windsurfing innovation would be like from him. But awesome, awesome, awesome guy. Super nice guy too. I really like Balls. All right, next up, here's a 360 from Adam Warhol, and Tomas is asking about going right into a grubby, sort of like a double 360 maneuver. I think something like that is very possible. Yeah, it needs the right setup though. It's like the clay, where you see Moritz and some of these guys doing it somewhat consistently, but it needs the right conditions. And I think this move will be a similar one. But definitely think it's possible. All right, Juso on the Vulcan. Juso, did you do? So I did a Vulcan course a few months ago. I remember if you were on it or not. This is a great first attempt. Awesome first attempt. A lot of things that are key here: moving that hand close to the mast, um, getting the body weight forward, bending over at the waist. Yeah, I think the main thing is just keep doing them. Like this is awesome for first attempts. You're coming really, really close. You're falling on the toe side rail, which we want to see. Like when you're falling back on your head, uh, that's less of a good sign. And then when you're falling on your face, that is a good sign. So you want to follow the falls that you fall on your face. But you're getting some slide. This is awesome. I think keep doing what you're doing. Getting in more reps is really important. Bending over at the waist will be incredibly helpful, and that which you're already doing, but you can exaggerate it. And then the other thing I would say is um, really punching with this hand forward. This is a great. These are great first attempts. But you can release with this hand sooner, and you're kind of pushing with this hand. You want to be pulling with the backhand. So the backhand pulls, which helps initiate the rotation, almost kind of like a forward loop. So pushing against the sail like that actually is counterproductive to what you want the sail to be doing. You want to pull on it, and then it helps pull you into the rotation. So yeah, that's something that we see actually you're doing in a few of these. So that'll be the biggest thing to change. is instead of pushing on the sail, you wanna sheet in the sail. So you sheet in on the sail before going into the bulkhead. Um, and that will make a big difference because when you're sheeting out like this, it's almost like a Vulcan. Are you doing shoulder Vulcans? That would be cool. It's hard to tell with the mass mount. But anyway, you wanna sheet in before, not sheet out. That helps you pull in. So if you're sheeting in and you still get that good bend over rover at the waist where you're just bending over at the waist really hard, getting that head low, bending at the waist, bending at the hips, you're gonna make one soon. But yeah, you got to sheet in at the beginning. It's more similar to a forward loop. You don't want to push out with the backhand. All right. John is asking if there are alternatives to the solo shot. I don't have a lot of experience with this, but I think there is a lot of value in getting some friends together, buying a camera together, and just filming each other for whatever, 10 minutes at a time. It doesn't have to be a long time, you know. When you come in for a rest, grab some water, film your buddies, and maybe it's three people, you guys all go in on a camera together. Whenever the one person comes in to rest, they film the other two. You can get a lot of footage like that, which can be really good for learning. But I don't have a lot of specific experience with a solo shot, but we do have some people who have a solo shot, so there's a lot of good comments here. All right. There's some space in my windsurfing masterclass that I'm teaching in Denmark, September 2nd through 7th. There's one of these spaces already filled, looks like, but there is another space. If you're interested, fill out this application and yeah, apply, and we'll go from there. I'll reach out to you. These weeks are awesome. We have a lot of fun, and we really work on a lot of windsurfing fundamentals, fundamental knowledge, fundamental skills, fundamental learning techniques that you need to take with you for your lifetime. But you really see the progress, not just in that week, but over the next 6 months or so. I really like teaching these courses. So if you are interested, fill out this application. And Klipmuller is an amazing place. I'm thinking of doing some limited clothing, like some t-shirts. Seems like that's what people are interested in more than caps, rash vests, and sweaters and hoodies. So I will look into doing some t-shirts. I've never made t-shirts myself, so I have to figure that out. But I will post about it in the group. Thank you guys for answering questions. Like that, we're caught up. Awesome. All right. Do you guys have any other questions, comments, concerns before I sign off? I'll just mention one more time the Windsurfing Masterclass TAC course. I know a lot of you guys are in that, but if you are not in it and you want to improve your fast tax, this is the way to do it. And so it's mywindsurfingmasterclass.com, my.windsurfingmasterclass.com. You can see it up here. And there's the fast tax course, fast tax secrets. And we go over the mindset, which will prime you for success. And a lot of things in here that I think are incredibly important. So don't skip this part. And then 11 technical secrets to the tack, 2 dry land exercises. So all you need to do, 10 minutes a day for 4 weeks, you will definitely improve your tax. All right. With that, I'm going to sign off. I can take another question or two if we've got them. Otherwise, I will see you next week, Sunday. It looks like there is some wind in Denmark, so I might head up there. If you're going to Klitmuller, make a post in the Facebook group, and we'll see how many of the coaching crew are up there. We can maybe get together, have a beer, or at least have a session together. That would be fun. I haven't sailed up I'm trying to think. Yeah, no, I haven't sailed up in Denmark this year, so that will be fun. I've got to check the forecast again though and see. All right, guys, I'm going to sign off. Take care. Have fun. Have a good week. I hope it's a windy week. Post your questions and comments in the Facebook group, and I will see you next week Sunday. All right. Have a good one.